Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a very special day because I get to host very special guest. I am Natalia Leahy, president of ultra luxury cruise line Seabourn, and I get to interview two of my favorite people. We get to have here James Schillinglaw, chief and editor of Insider Travel Report, and this time I get to grill him with very tough questions because, yes, the tables are turning. And we have our own Steve Smotris, who is our vice president of sales for Seabourn Cruise Line. So I'm gonna start with the first question. They don't know questions, by the way. So I really get to.
I have to
I
ask
really
you in
get to
advance
play
all the
hard.
time.
Yes. Tell me your favorite childhood travel memory.
God, there were actually so many, but one of my favorite childhood memories was going on a cruise ship, a transatlantic sailing ship. It was part of the French line. At that time, it was called the France, and that was ultra luxury. And it sort of spoiled me. I guess that's why I like going on luxury cruise lines like yours now.
Wow. Okay. Okay. You just gave me an idea for next question. So, Steve, how about your travel story?
Well, I don't have a cruise story because I didn't go on my first cruise until I think it was in my late 20s. But travel, we did a lot of road trips as a kid, and so my grandparents loved to do that. And so grew up in Los Angeles, and we did a long 2-week trip driving up to Oregon all the way up to California coast, and a lot of fond memories of that.
How old were you, James, when you did your first cruise?
I was at the time 7 years old, but we actually did it again. I don't think I remember that one as much, but when I came back to New York because we were living over in Europe, we came back on the France when I was 12 years old. And that's the one I think I really remember. And because it was at that time, the France was one of the most amazing ships at sea. The other ones were obviously QE2, which we're actually in Dubai right now, and QE2 is a hotel here. And then there were other ships like the Holland America ships that were big, and some of the even back then we even had SS United States back then. I'm old, so I'm remembering all these days when and it was. I remember not having the best meal. It was the best meal I never ate. I had ordered all these famous things like pheasant under glass and baked Alaska and had caviar, but unfortunately we hit the side of a hurricane coming into New York, and we started to rock. And even though the France at the time had the first stabilizers, I got seasick, and they spooned out the caviar for a little while, and all of a sudden I looked at it and I said, "Excuse me," and that was the end of it. I spent the rest of the whole cruise sitting in the movie theater trying to get my bearings, but it's still nevertheless it was quite a thing, And then years later I saw the France, now the Norway, in St. Martin's, and it was not the same. It looked a little smaller, and then the ships I was on, and it just was. But that was my first love, my first ship.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you mentioned something about that gave you that ultra luxury experience. Since I've been a president of Seabourn, I get this question quite a bit, and I think you asked me that. What does luxury mean to you? So I'm gonna ask that question of two of you. What does luxury mean to you? I'm gonna start with you, Steve.
So I think luxury, that word gets bantied around so much, probably overused, but I think it's about personal choice. I think those are the words that you kind of think about. But it's at the end of the day, I think, especially when you think about Seabourn, and I hear from our guests and how luxury, what it means to them. And I think it's about feeling special at the end of the day, that you feel like you are the most important person and that you are being treated in such a way. So I think it's about feeling special.
I would agree. For me, it's really the experience. Yeah, I mean, not to praise you so much, because we were on together, if you remember, on the front deck of Seabourn Venture. We're in the middle of Greenland, and the wind is run around. We were interviewing, but it was just such.
My first interview.
That was,
Yeah.
and it was just such a wonderful thing to do that, and just with all this incredible scenery around. It's the experience for me is what is luxurious, and that can be almost anything. Obviously, I've been lucky enough to experience a lot of great ships and a lot of great hotels over the year, but it does come, as Steve said, to service as well, to how you get people, and your crew was great on Seabourn Venture, but we're in a hotel now. You're seeing great service, and I think that is the key: service and then the experience.
So of course I'm biased about Seabourn, and I will ask you, both of you, of course, travel. But James, you've been a guest on Seabourn quite a few times. I'm sure you both talk to many of your friends, and if they ask you, and there are a lot of great travel choices, if they ask you to describe Seabourn in one sentence, what would you tell your friends?
It's different now. Let me just because of the expedition quality, though. It's incredible service combined with incredible experiences in comfort and with great food. That's sort of a lousy sentence to say, but service, experience, comfort, food. That's really what it's all about. And I've been lucky enough to go on Seabourn a few times in various iterations from the very beginning, to ships that are not in your fleet anymore, to the first one of your new series, and now lucky enough to go on your first of your 2 brand new expedition ships, and every time it's getting better. It's something that hard to describe about how it is so different now. But again, I'm not saying one sentence. See, I'm cheating.
It's hard to get
in one sentence, but that's kind of what it is. So it's experience, it's service, and it's really the comfort and everything that you get on board.
Yeah, I would say with Seabourn, it feels, it's going to be real hard for me to do one sentence too. If I were to use one word to differentiate Seabourn, I would use connective, because what I always say is Seabourn you're going to get amazing high-touch service. You're going to get incredible culinary experience. You're going to get immersive, intimate experience. But I think you can get that in a lot of different products. But and I've been on, I've had the pleasure of sailing a lot of different luxury cruise lines. Good, like you, James, a lot of beautiful luxury hotels like we're in now. But I've never been an experience where the service was delivered with such a connective way, where they really want to develop a relationship with you, and that resonates so well with our guests.
It's interesting, Steve, because you started by saying one word. When I onboarded as a president, I did a lot of listen and learn, as you know, and I talked to our crew members, and I talked to our guests, I talked to travel partners, and I asked them to describe Seabourn in one word. So I will tell you the answer that was most frequently used, but I'll get back to my first question. I ask you both to share your favorite childhood stories. In general, when you share one of your most favorable travel stories, people go back very often to their childhood memories, because we share these stories with our loved ones, we share it with our family. So the 2 words that were most frequently used as guests describe Seabourn differences were family and home. And so that's, to your point of connective, I hope that when we treat our guests, not only are they being spoiled with all the little touches of ultra luxury and comfort and details, but they also feel very comfortable at home, which brings me to one of my final questions. We pride ourselves on Seabourn as something that you well know as a Seabourn moments that brings to life these little unique, special touches. So it's very, very personal. A lot of people ask what the Seabourn moment is. So I'm going to ask you the example. Do you have your favorite, most memorable or most recent Seabourn moment, and can you share with everyone what it was? Who wants to start?
I'll start. It was the time you have a submarine on your ship. And I had done that two submarines. First of all, the pilots were wonderful. You know, they're really cool to talk with. And I had done it once before, but this was the first up in the Arctic. And to go down in a submarine was just really spectacular. And I know it's going to be even more fun when you go out to the Pacific, because then you'll see a lot of different stuff. It just was very extraordinary to do that. And oddly enough, I hate to say this, but we went down just after that disaster in the Titanic, and everyone said, "Why would you do that?" I said, "Because this is perfectly safe. This is fine. I'm going to feel real good about this." And just to go down with the folks that we went down with and they were the best to talk with. The technicians, the pilots of the submarines. We were talking about how you interact with and I do remember that, listening to their stories. They were also the lecturers on board, and that was really super. I think I went to all of their lectures to hear what they were out to say after that. So that's kind of my initial moment, because then the other moment would have been when you and I were on deck doing the interview, and your hair was blowing and everything else, and we're looking among these amazing glaciers and mountains. So that was the other moment. That, you know, we were just that front of the ship, that front deck is so impressive. Then you're out there and you can see everything. So that was the other moment, I'd say.
Oh, thank you. Steve?
So I've got so many to choose from, but I'll pick one from last year when I was on board Seabourn Venture. Had the pleasure of going down to Antarctica, and it's one incredible day after another of just having these incredible wildlife and nature experiences. So, but one particular day, I was traveling with a number of travel advisors that I was hosting, and we went and did the polar plunge one day, which was in Lemire Channel, which is one of the most extraordinary places down right below the Antarctica Circle. And so we already had a great day, and the team, the crew on board just made it so fun and everything. But then we were cold after the polar plunge, so we went back to the back of the ship where we have an infinity pool and 2 hot tubs. And so we all got in the hot tubs, so we're basically taking over. And now we're sailing through the Lemire Channel, and
and you're in
the hot tub, and it's such a surreal moment, and that would be enough, right? But then one of our team members comes and says, "Would you all like champagne?" With a bottle of champagne. "You guys are having so much fun. I wanted to enhance it, and so here's champagne." It goes all around. And so then we're still there for another half hour. And then another team member goes, "Okay, you all, even though you're warm in the hot tub, I wanted to give you something to keep you even warmer. Here's some hot soup." We're eating hot soup in a hot tub and drinking champagne. And it was just, we wouldn't expect that, but the team looking to take it to the next level all the time. It's just unbelievable. You can't even imagine those kind of opportunities.
Wow. So you now did polar plunge both in Arctic and Antarctica, is that right?
I have, and so one of the expedition team members was quick to say, "Oh, you're bipolar now."
Yeah, here you go. Here you go. So, okay, Steve. So, okay. So, is that fair to say you now been in all 7 continents?
Yeah.
I have. I've been on all 7 continents, and now that we're in Dubai, I've now swam in all 5 oceans.
Wow. Okay, I have last and final question. We, as Steve knows very well, we often talk in our leadership team meetings about the role of travel partners. And we internally call them an extension of our leadership team, because they are people who bring our brand to life for our guests, for which we are incredibly grateful. So I would like to ask both of you, what would you tell to our travel partners about Seabourn?
Well, I think now with the new expedition ships, it's almost an entirely new line. It was wonderful to start with. It was one of the original luxury lines. I knew it well. I've known it well for almost more than 30 years. 30, and when it first started, and it was always known as one of the best, luxury lines. But with the addition of these 2 brand new expedition ships, it takes it to another level. And I think that brings it, it's almost, and you are actually using those ships on non-expedition itineraries, I noticed, and so that's kind of interesting as well, because they are so wonderful. And you go all over the world, but to me now you're going to even more exotic and places that really off the beaten path. And I think that's the positive. Know that Seabourn is not only a luxury now; it's adventure, it's expedition, and it's exotic.
Oh, thank you. South Pacific. Seabourn Pursuit is now in South Pacific. I'm getting these pictures daily that are unbelievable.
And you're going for
Unbelievable.
the
I'm going to Kimberley for christening. Yes.
I want to go.
Yes.
Take me?
Yes. Absolutely. Come and join. Yes. I think we sold out for the entire season, but we are very proud. Our naming is we named the local community to be godparents of our ship, and together with local Australian government, we're able to build the housing for the community and an art camp on the original land. So that's something that we, on behalf of our entire team, are actually very, very proud of.
One of the messages I like to always pass along is that we all know that there's a lot of luxury guests out there that don't think they like cruising. And I think Seabourn is a great way to try cruising for those guests, because it is, I would say if you like a Rosewood hotel, or like this beautiful hotel, the Royal in Dubai, something like this, Seabourn's going to deliver a very similar experience from a hardware perspective, but you're going to be able to go to all 7 continents, go to very immersed experiences where you're going to your point, off the beaten path. We may start in like a Barcelona in the Mediterranean, but every port in between is going to be something very small and more intimate. And so I think there's a huge appeal there. But the experience on board is so accessible for so many guests. It's not over the top, super, super opulent. But it's refined, and it's beautiful, and it really appeals to such a broad audience. And to your point, Natalia, as you said, our past guests say you're going to feel like home. You're going to feel this warmth on board. And I think that appeals to such a broad audience. And back to what I said, people want to feel special. And I guarantee they're going to feel special on board Seabourn.
Well, thank you, both of you, for letting me play a journalist today. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for inviting me on your show. It was really special. I didn't have to work that hard. I just had to think of answers, right?
Any freelance work you got?
See, you like that.
You want a job?
Well, thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure to be here, and we all are very humbled to be associated with such a wonderful brand as Seabourn. Thank you for supporting us.